my name's Amanda and welcome to my sewing room tour. Now I hope that you're not going to be disappointed with me when I say I wanted to do just something a little bit different with this sewing room tour compared to all of the other ones that I've sort of been watching and researching over the last couple of days. I really just wanted to make a video showing you all of my favourite places and spaces and elements in my room that just make it a beautiful place to come in and be creative and to sew and to quilt and just be inspired in. However, if you do want to see a more in-depth tour of my sewing room, I actually made one a couple of years ago showing you everything that there is in this room. I took you through all of my drawers, through all of my shelves and where I keep everything, as well as all of the things that are on my walls and literally everything. I went through everything. So if you want to go check that out, there's a link to that on the screen now and also down in the description box below. So for this new version, I also wanted to just keep the room as natural and as authentic as possible. So I didn't sit down and fold all the fabrics in my shelf behind me because I ain't got time to do that. Admittedly, I did actually dust a few areas because I was a little bit embarrassed by that. But apart from that, everything is pretty much exactly how it is every single day. I do usually keep my sewing table quite clean and clutter-free because I really can't work when there's clutter all over the table. But on the floor and in the corners of the sewing room, that's a whole different ball game. So without rambling on any longer, let's get into it. And we're going to first start off with my favourite space or area in my room, and that is my sewing table. So on the bookshelf to the left, I keep my many jars of buttons, endless magazines and books. Now you've all seen my quilting books thousands of times before, but I always find myself coming back and looking at them for the perfect page of inspiration or information to share with you at one time or another. Then next to my books, I have an old bookshelf that I use to stack up all of my most used fabrics in. These shelves are somewhat colour-coded and are neat enough for me to see what fabrics are there as well as what's missing. I also have a few big plastic tubs full of fabric under my sewing table, along with a few different bolts of fabric, lots of fun little piles here and there, as well as a fab little plastic drawer for all of my fat quarters. Moving on to my sewing table, the newest storage addition to the room are those pink shelves from IKEA. Here I store all of my most used threads and fun little knickknacks. I also keep my binding clips here and store spare needles, notions and threads in my beautiful Emma Bridgewater Truly Great British tin. And speaking about tins, I use them a lot as storage in my sewing room, from holding my ribbon collection, my pre-made hexie collection, my binding clips and quilt basting pins, to my on-the-go embroidery tin and craft supplies. Tins truly are the best storage in the world and are just so much fun. In front of my shelves is where I keep my rotary blades as well as all of my clover quilting tools and pencils. In the wooden drawers behind, I keep lots of bits and bobs, zippers, spare pins and a few miscellaneous sewing and quilting tools. When cutting my fabrics, I use an Alpha 24 by 36 inch cutting mat and have all of my long rulers hanging up together along the side of my table for easy access. With most of my square rulers, I keep them on my table next to where I have my fabric and craft scissors. So the table itself was an unwanted work counter I got when I was working at Spotlight. On the shelves underneath, I keep more fabrics, all of my dress patterns, more threads, and all of my fun embroidery things. One other thing that lives on my sewing table is my sewing machine. It's a Brother Innovus 200 Quilters Edition, and I won this when I came first in a quilting competition I entered a few years ago. It truly is such a lovely machine to use. It sews beautifully and always does what I ask it every single time. Above my sewing table, I have hanging my Crown of Thorns mini quilt. Then all around I have lots of framed embroideries made over the years, as well as a few other artworks, quilt ribbons and gifts. One other important space in my sewing room is my computer desk. Here I plan, write and edit everything I do, from my YouTube channels to my blog posts. Then lastly, next to my desk is my little craft nook where I keep my small little stash of stickers, washi tapes, card making supplies and collection of glues and sprays. So there you have all of my favourite places and spaces and things in my sewing room that I absolutely love. I really do hope that you've enjoyed watching this different version or take on a sewing room tour. Again, if you do want to see a more in-depth tour of my sewing room, then you can go check out the one that I made a couple of years ago. Pretty much everything is exactly the same as it is now. Everything is still in the same place. There are a few new additions, but pretty much everything is still exactly the same. Now, of course, if you're new to these parts and would like to see more of the things that I do here on my channel, then don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you come and join us. And as always, friends, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you another time very, very soon. Bye!